Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
And we begin tonight with new allegations against Hamtramck's police chief, including potentially criminal activity. It's all in a memo uncovered by Local 4, which we are showing you right now. And here it is. Here is that memo right here. Just yesterday, we learned the chief and another officer were placed on administrative leave.
And the suspension is coming from the city manager, who was ousted as chief back in 2015. But now the big question is, why is all this happening? Lauren Kostick is live for us in Hamtramck. Lauren, any idea what caused this?
Yeah, that is really the big question tonight. Like you said, we received this anonymous letter from someone inside the department. It was sent to state police, and it details several allegations against the chief, saying he not only violated city policy, but possibly the law. And tonight, those inside City Hall, well, they're staying pretty tight-lipped about it all. Hamtramck City Hall in the spotlight again.
Yeah, we want to know what's going on. Why people getting kicked out.
We need answers. We definitely need some answers, right?
Police Chief Jamil Al-Tahiri and another officer placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Al-Tahiri joined the department last year and previously worked in New York City. The city manager would not provide a reason for the suspension. However, a letter obtained by Local 4 details alarming allegations. It's written by someone in the department and sent to state police, claiming the chief, quote, engaged in a pattern of behavior aimed at grooming members of the department in order to shield or obscure his actions. But state police say they aren't involved in any investigation. Hamtramck's mayor released a statement about the suspension. He said the police chief described it as a retaliatory action by the city manager for disciplining one of the police officers who is a close friend of the city manager. We called Al-Tahiri for comment but didn't hear back. We also called the city manager, who doubled down, saying the suspension was not retaliatory. The controversy comes just weeks after two city council members were also in hot water for allegedly living outside the city.
Yeah, it does worry me because I don't know much about what's happening. You know, they don't release too much out there for the public, but, you know, all we can do is hope for the best.
And when I spoke with the city manager earlier, he told me he plans to bring in an outside firm to investigate this matter. The mayor also saying he hopes to hold an emergency meeting to address this. Two things we're going to be following very closely. Reporting live tonight in Hamtramck, Lauren Kostick, Local 4.
Yeah, what a mess. The more we learn, Lauren, the more questions we have. Thanks for the update.
This is Sarah Lynn Milgram and Yaron Lischinski. They were both working at the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. last night. They were shot and killed walking out of the Jewish museum. The suspect in the shooting is now in custody after yelling "Free Palestine" as he was arrested. Tragedy striking the nation's capital, a violent event with ties to a global crisis. Yaron Lischinski and Sarah Milgram, a young couple on the verge of getting engaged, were gunned down as they left an event at Washington's Capitol Jewish Museum.
Their murder will not be in vain.
30-year-old Lischinski and 26-year-old Milgram both worked at the Israeli embassy.
A wonderful girl, and she was as close to perfect as any human could be.
Police arrested a man in his 30s, Elias Rodriguez of Chicago. They say he yelled "Free Palestine" while in handcuffs and told authorities where he put the weapon. Rodriguez is expected in federal court today.
Everything we know now, he acted alone. From everything we know now, this is an ongoing investigation.
FBI agents searched a building in Chicago tied to Rodriguez. Agents and K-9 officers were seen going into the building. People who knew him say he was mild-tempered. Witnesses on the scene said he ran into the museum after the shooting.
This man, who we assumed was a witness, was in the museum with us for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then as soon as a cop enters is when he starts yelling to the whole museum, and he yells, I did it for Palestine."
The shooting comes more than 18 months after the Hamas October 7th terrorist attack on Israel, where more than 1,200 people were killed and hundreds were taken hostage by Hamas. In response, Israel has killed more than 53,000 people in Gaza, many of them civilians and children. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry. That sparking an emotional debate and massive demonstrations against Israel's retaliation.
Hatred has no place in the United States of America.
And President Trump sent condolences and spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who has increased security at Israeli missions around the world.
Christopher Schur, the former Grand Rapids police officer who killed Patrick Leoya during a traffic stop in 2022, will not face another trial. This comes 2 weeks after the trial ended in a hung jury. Here's the prosecutor on why the case will not be refiled or go back for another trial.
So I took everything into account when I made this decision, and basically what it boils down to is I don't think we reach a different verdict if I do a retrial in this case. The jury came back deadlocked.
Now, attorneys for the Leoya family released a statement. It says in part, quote, the Leoya family has not only lost Patrick, but now the hope that former officer Christopher Schur will ever be held criminally accountable for taking Patrick's life. Schur claimed self-defense in the shooting and that he feared for his life. This after a lengthy struggle with Leoya, where Leoya grabbed the officer's taser. Tonight, we're learning brand new information about that deadly explosion last March in Clinton Township.
And if you are unfamiliar with this story, this should get you caught up pretty quickly. I remember that night, thousands of bottles of combustible gas went flying into the air along with pocket knives and other items. A key court hearing today revealed new clues into how this all happened. So let's get out to our Jay Scott Smith live at the site of that warehouse. Jay, what did you learn today?
Well, good evening, everybody. And we are standing right in front of what used to be the Goose Smoke Shop, because as you see right now, 14 months later, there's nothing left out here at this smoke shop that was at 15 and Groesbeck. And during today's hearing, the smoke shop's employees described the horrifying moment when the building began to blow.
All of a sudden, the ceiling started shaking.
Kevin Zaytuna was at work the night that the warehouse on 15 Mile in Groesbeck started exploding. During today's hearing, he described how he had to think quickly to survive.
I went under my desk and then put my hands behind my head. And my desk it's a thick executive office desk, so I felt pretty safe. And then my first reaction was I thought it was an earthquake or a train hit us, because we're right next to the railroad.
Zaytuna's boss, 31-year-old Noor Kestu, has been charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection with the explosion on March 4th, 2024. It was at the nearly 27,000 square foot warehouse that was home to Select Distributors and the Goose Smoke Shop. The building contained thousands of canisters of nitrous oxide, and the explosion sent them flying like shrapnel for nearly 2 miles. One of the nitrous canisters hit and killed 19-year-old Turner Lee Salter, who was a quarter mile away. Kestu was taken into custody in New York City while attempting to board a one-way flight to Hong Kong. Today, he was in court listening as Zaytuna, who also caught the fire on cell phone video, described how he and his co-workers were able to escape the building that was burning just before the shrapnel started flying.
I think within 5 minutes, we started hearing small explosions. Then it started to intensify. So as we started feeling the ground shaking, we started getting further and further away.
And now you see that empty lot that was the Goose Smoke Shop, the sign being the only thing that remains these 14 months later. Now, the hearing ended up adjourning about an hour ago, and it's going to pick up, about 1 week from today, it's going to pick up next Wednesday at 9 a.m. as they determine whether or not this case goes to trial. We're live in Clinton Township. I'm Jay Scott Smith for Local 4.
And we will continue to follow it. Jay, thank you so much. And you can snap the QR code on the screen. It's going to take you to our special section with all the coverage of the explosion. It includes viewer videos of it happening and an in-depth look at the items that were stored in that building.
All right, we have some good news tonight for folks living on Grosse Ile. In the past hour, the Grosse Ile Parkway Bridge has reopened. Wayne County says the first phase of repairs is done, and the bridge will be open for up to 4 weeks. Then, unfortunately, it will be closed for another 3 weeks. We may be 111 days away from the Lions kicking off the new season, but there's huge news from the team today.
Not like we're counting, but Hobie's here now. Hobie, you spent the morning in Allen Park, where Aiden Hutchinson spoke today.
Yes, and we've heard from coaches talk about his recovery. We've talked about players and how he's approaching it. But today we heard from the man himself. I'm fully cleared. We've been waiting to hear those words from Aiden Hutchinson for a long time, but that is what the Lions defensive end said this afternoon as he begins his return to football. Hutchinson holding his first press conference since that leg injury ended his season in Week 5 against the Cowboys. He went into the recovery process, which he described as a steady, gradual climb to reach this point. Hutch said he always knew he'd be back. In his words, there's just a couple of bones. The hardest part, he said, was being away from the team, especially the D-line room. But they are reunited, and Hutch is reinvigorated to get back on that field.
I got cleared a while back, and now I'm just I'm rolling with the boys now, and it feels like I'm back to being myself again. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the season. I'm looking forward to. I think this is the most excited I've been for OTAs in my life. This is the biggest hiatus I've had without playing ball, so I'm pumped.
And it's crazy to see just how big of a season Hutch was putting together. He was on pace for 25.5 sacks. That would have broken the single-season NFL record by 3. Hutch also on pace for 24 tackles for a loss. That would have been first in the NFL last year. But he said he will push for even greater heights this season after such a great start last year. It's all about continuing that work. And our other big story tonight, the Tigers at Comerica Park taking on the Guardians. The first time they've met since the postseason last year. We'll have more on that coming up a little bit later in sports.
Exciting stuff. Okay, Hobie, thanks.
Now we go to the weather and live pictures from our Windsor Sky Cam. It's been a cold and dreary day all across the region. Just gray skies all about, but it seems the clouds are sticking around.
Let's get over to forewarned meteorologist Ron Hilliard. He's in for Kim Adams tonight. Hi, Ron.
Hello to you, Kimberly and Ty. The showers are going to exit southeast Michigan later on tonight, with just a couple impacting us tomorrow. But the cool weather, that's here to stay for a little bit longer. Right now, showers are popping up along US 23 as you travel into Livingston County. You will encounter those in Brighton and Howell. We have a couple of showers popping up around Pontiac, and also as you get into Hazel Park, St. Clair Shores, Grosse Pointe, Monroe, we are seeing those showers right now here in southeast Michigan. So I'm going to talk about what we can expect with this forecast coming up, guys.